So, almost 20 years after the heroic spirit was made visible in the work of Michelangelo, it appears in Germany in the words and actions of Luther. Whatever else he may have been, Luther was a hero. And after all the doubts and hesitations of the humanists and the hovering flight of Erasmus, it's with a real sense of emotional relief that we hear Luther say, "Here I stand."
We can see what this burning spirit was like because the local painter of Wittenberg, Lucas Cranach, was one of Luther's most trusted friends. And Cranach portrayed Luther in all his changing aspects. The tense, spiritually struggling monk, the great theologian with the brow of Michelangelo, the emancipated layman. Cranach was a witness of Luther's marriage and painted the portrait of his bride, an admirable and intelligent nun. Even in the disguise he wore when he escaped incognito to Wittenberg, no doubt he was extremely impressive, the leader for which the earnest German people is always waiting.
It had to happen. If Western civilization was not to wither or petrify, like the civilization of ancient Egypt, it had to draw life from a larger area than that which had nourished the intellectual and artistic triumphs of the Renaissance. And ultimately, a new civilization emerged. But it was a civilization not of the image, but of the word.
Luther gave his countrymen words. Erasmus had written solely in Latin. Luther translated the Bible into German, noble German too, as far as I can judge, and so gave people not only a chance to read Holy Writ for themselves, but the tools of thought. And the medium of printing was there to make it accessible. The translations of the Bible by Calvin into French, by Tyndale and Coverdale into English, were crucial in the development of the Western mind. It's a terrible thought that so-called wars of religion, religion of course being used as a pretext for political ambitions, but still providing a sort of emotional dynamo, that wars of religion went on for 120 years and were accompanied by such revolting episodes as the massacre of St. Bartholomew.
And they may be summed up in the words illusion and exploitation. Of course, all art is to some extent an illusion. It transforms experience in order to satisfy some need of the imagination. But there are degrees of illusion, depending on how far from direct experience the artist is prepared to go. Bernini went very far. Just how far one realizes when one remembers the historical Santa Teresa. With her plain, dauntless, sensible face, the contrast with the swooning, sensuous beauty of the Cornaro Chapel is almost shocking. One can't help feeling that affluent Baroque, in its escape from the severities of the earlier fight against Protestantism, ended by escaping from reality into a world of illusion. Art creates its own momentum, and once set on this course, there was nothing it could do except become more and more sensational. And this is what happens in the breathtaking performances that take place over our heads in the Gesù and St. Ignazio and the Palazzo Barberini. We feel that the stopper is out. Imaginative energy is fizzing away up into the clouds and will soon evaporate.
As for my other misgivings, of course there was exploitation before the 16th century, but never on so vast a scale. In the Middle Ages, it was usually accompanied by real popular participation. Even in the Renaissance, palaces were, to some extent, seats of government and objects of local pride. But the colossal palaces of the Pope's relatives were simply expressions of private greed and vanity. Farnese, Borghese, Barberini, Ludovisi, these rapacious parvenus spent their short years of power competing as to who should build the largest and most ornate saloons. In doing so, they commissioned some great works of art, and one can't help admiring their shameless courage. At least they weren't mean and furtive like some modern millionaires. But their contribution to civilization was limited to this kind of visual exuberance. The sense of grandeur is no doubt a human instinct, but carried too far it becomes inhuman. I wonder if a single thought that has helped forward the human spirit has ever been conceived or written down in an enormous room.